course, she will be helping us understand exactly what is contained in the budget framework paper with regard to commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, as well as market access. Of course, the Public Finance Management Act requires that the budget framework paper is presented to Parliament before the 31st of December of the year that precedes the reading of the budget, and by February 1st, much of what is required should be done. That is the backdrop upon which we shall be discussing. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Have you looked at the budget framework paper?
Yes, I had a look at it. Good morning, our viewers. Yeah. And we, SEATINI being an organization which works on trade and trade issues, that's right, we really concentrated more on agro-industrialization to look at how that sector has been addressed. Because when you look at the theme, like you have said, it's full monetization of Uganda's economy, through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, and market access.
This is pretty much the same theme.
Well, it has, that's how it has
been. Nothing has changed.
No, nothing has changed.
Why shouldn't it change? Shouldn't we be looking at something broad, newer than the previous year?
Not really, because for me, I think trade is the engine of the economy.
Okay.
You know, maybe what's missing here, maybe to add in issues of tourism, maybe issues of the mineral sector. But when you look at this theme, it's pretty good enough to encompass the issue of the economy, the issue of the productive sectors. And that's the productive sectors are the basis of the economy.
That is right. All right, the President has been very vocal and consistent about most of what you talk about, especially when it comes to agro processing, industrialization, as well as broadening the services sector. But there seems to be a disconnect between the words he says and what is happening on the ground. And I know somebody would say very confidently that the workings of government might not be as quick as the words spoken by those that run the government. On the ground, is the process of the agro-processing improvements, industrialization, are we on a trajectory that is actually taking us where we want, and we are not only hearing the words as spoken by the President?
Okay, I think what you are saying is true. There is a lot of talk about agro-industrialization, and the President talks a lot about exporting jobs, that we need to add value. And some time back, there was also a debate talking around import substitution. You know, there is a lot of talk. But we haven't walked that talk because when you look at the budget, because we are talking about agro-industrialization, you are bringing together agriculture. And agriculture, you know, includes agriculture, fisheries, forestry, all that. So you are bringing together agriculture and industry, value addition, industrialization.
That's right.
You are bringing it together with trade so that you are trading value added products. But when you look at, for example, the budget of agriculture, our leaders met in Maputo way back in 2017, and they agreed under the Maputo Declaration, and they signed that they are going to spend at least 10% of their budget on agriculture.
The allocation
on agriculture. Today, it's less than 3%. Of the budget, and that's the added agro-industrialization. You look at the resources which have been given to trade, the Ministry of Trade, very meager, you know. So walking that talk has been a challenge. And also, when you look at the way we have organized our production, we produce, but not for the market. We produce, we don't care so much about the quality. You know. Take an example. It's just recently that the EU said, okay, now you can bring your paper to EU, because all along our standards have been very poor, and that has been the culture, that our products, the standard is very low. Our products are rejected even in Kenya here, rejected even in Sudan, but you don't see a concerted effort to say these are the standards. I'll give you an example. We are going to get a lot of maize this season because it rained, but you wonder where exactly people are going to keep that maize. Because you find somebody with a house not as big as this one with about 5 acres of maize, then you wonder, where are they going to dry that maize? How are they going to handle that maize? You know, so we are a country who say we are an agricultural country, we want to add value, want to do this, but we are not walking that talk.
Madam Jane Nalunga, the interview that Stephen Mbide held with the Lord Mayor there ate up a little bit of time, but as we approach the half-hour mark, let's just go for a break. When we return, we shall dive pretty straight into the dynamics of what should be considered, or how best some of what you propose can actually be undertaken in terms of ensuring that this agenda for industrialization and agro-processing is actually achieved. So for those watching from wherever you're watching, online and in the lobbies of your workplaces and of course the homes, stay with us. We'll be right back and continue with this discussion. Welcome back. Let's continue the discussion. Budgeting priorities for the new financial year. I'm speaking to Jane Nalunga here in the studio. She is the Executive Director at SEATINI. SEATINI being the Southern and Eastern Africa Trade, Information and Negotiations Institute. Before we went for the break, you were sharing on aspects of agro-processing, and I'll be coming very shortly to the fact that post-harvest handling is one of the greatest challenges within that sector, where most of the Ugandans do not know how to deal with the produce once it's been gotten off the farm. That includes how to refine the crop in order for it to be exportable, how to ensure aspects like fungi do not affect many of the crops, including coffee and maize. You spoke about the fact that maize was rejected in South Sudan. There are aspects of quality of milk in Kenya. But I just want to understand where we are in terms of making consumption lean, as in ensuring that what is wasted is recouped back and redistributed to the best possible areas, especially when it comes to getting the best. I don't know even how to, but the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, who is also the secretary to the Treasury, has been up and about on ensuring that that cost of public service is reduced. But as he's doing that, a lot of other initiatives fly in his face where resources are rolled out. The other day I saw the speaker giving out 5 SUVs, humongous machines that cost a lot of money. And I hear that within the next budget there are clauses that will see former vice presidents receive cars again, meaning the good old secondary
is going to get another round.
That's interesting. How is that handled?
I don't know, because members of parliament are telling us that that's the law.
That is the law.
That's the law. But a law is made by people, by them, and it can be reversed by them. But when you look at just the issue of the cars, you see a country which is so extravagant, you know, a country which doesn't know that we are really indebted, because we are really, really indebted. In fact, even the money which we use to buy those huge monsters, it isn't our money. And what I want to tell Ugandans, for example, when they say that the budget for the coming financial year, 2023-24, is 52.7 trillion.
2024-2025.
Yeah, almost half of that money is to pay to
service debt,
servicing debt, paying some debts. So for the financial year 2024-2025, we have just 21.7 trillion for us to divide up.
Out of the 52.
Out of the 52. So we are not, because that one is already gone. But you have to remember that we are still borrowing. We are still borrowing. And we are borrowing, because the more you borrow, the more you have challenges of repaying. And the more you have challenges of repaying, the more the concessional loans go down and you go for commercial banks. Now we have gone for commercial banks. You remember that date which we got the supplementary in December, 3.5 billion was from Standard Chartered, isn't it? And that's a lot of interest. So that's the way to go. So we are going to see more money, more resources going to servicing debt. In fact, this month, Bank of Uganda pointed out that for every 100 shillings we get from taxes, 30 go to servicing the loan. So that's where we are. And for me, what I would have expected, you know, because we are really in a tight corner, there are a number of countries which have defaulted. On their Zambia, Ghana, and they are in a very dire situation, and that's where we are going. And for me, I think we need to rethink, you know, as a country, be able to see where should we be putting our money. Should we be putting our money to give somebody 2 cars, huge cars, you know, just because he was a vice president, he was a speaker, just because the law says that? Who made that law? And who can reverse that law? So for me, the challenge really is not knowing where to put our money. Maybe we know, but we don't care, and we just continue borrowing. And the appetite to borrow is very, very high, but it's going to be a disaster for the country. Because, let me give you an example. There is a time last year when I think Minister of Finance brought to Parliament a loan, was it 2 trillion loan from a private company, and that private company, the conditionality was to waive our sovereign immunity. Some people didn't understand what it meant. Waiving sovereign immunity over your properties, you waive that immunity. What it means that you fail to pay to service, then you waive your immunity, sovereign immunity on your properties. Uganda, by the way, we have very lucrative properties. The UN, our embassy in New York, it's next to the UN, just across there. In fact, when we go to the UN, you just come from there and you see our flag there, opposite the UN. You know?
Very sitting on prime land in New York.
You go to UK, you know,
Uganda
on
House.
Trafalgar Square, Uganda House, prime land, you know. And when we say we waive our immunity, those properties can go. So when you waive your immunity, sovereign immunity, they can attach a plane. You have gone to London, Dubai, your plane is there, they just say it isn't going anywhere, you know. So those are the dangers. But also other dangers is the fact that if you are using 30% to pay for your to service your loan, that means that you have no resources to do the roads.
To direct
I have seen
infrastructure.
Exactly. I have seen the mayor talking about the roads. Where is the money? When 30% is going to pay to service the loan, but also remember we have salaries to pay and wages, those overhead costs. So what's remaining? So that means we are going to continue in that cycle of debt.
Does that inform the inconsistencies in the payment of salaries for civil servants and pensioners?
Yeah, because government doesn't have money, you know. The money is not there because that's what they run a cash budget, they collect, then they pay. So that situation is not good, and that's why my proposal really is to look at our productive sectors. This country, for me, I believe we can trade our way out of poverty. We can trade our way.
We'll take us through that. Talk us through that. How can we?
We have the land, the fertile land. We have 2 seasons. We can plant literally anything. The maize, the soya, anything we can be able to plant it, and it comes out very well.
Yeah.
The markets are there. You see, the Minister of Trade has been negotiating. Even the President, when he goes there, there are markets out there. You know, AGOA was there, but it had problems. So AGOA will forget about it for the time being. But there is the European Union. There is the regional market. When you look at the southern part, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, they always have a deficit, a maize deficit. Because for them, maize is their staple food.
Yeah, sure.
Lunch, dinner, dinner. It's in Shima meal, okay? But they have just 1 season. They always have a deficit. So if we can be able to more organize our trade, know clearly that market, this is the kind of maize they want. Because our challenge also is that we produce. Then after producing, we look for the market. But the market maybe doesn't want what we have produced.
Yeah, our production processes are not informed by the market.
So it has to be informed by the market. So let us get the markets. Because, you see, again, maybe it comes out because the Ministry of Trade has also been starved of resources.
What do you mean?
Look at the budget. The budget, Agro Industrialization, last year, this current year, it was given 1.8 trillion. Agro Industrialization, 1.8 trillion. Out of that money, 1 trillion was supposed to come from external, not from government. So when you look at the actual monies given to agriculture and trade, is very little. Then you see, when it comes to export market, it goes to another entity. Look at AGOA. AGOA was in another office, you know. So the whole ministry is sort of divided up. But what I'm saying, that if we can be more serious with our agriculture, our industrialization, our trade, we negotiate those markets. Let me give you an example of Kenya. Kenya negotiated the avocado market with China. It was one time in the newspapers here, how they are earning how many $200 billion, you know, has avocado, which we can plant. But they negotiated the type of avocado they want. And China told them, we want a hard cover. In fact, at first, China had told them, freeze it 30 degrees below zero. Freeze it so that, you know, all the germs die. He said, no, we can't manage that, but can we have a hard cover? They even negotiated the taxes, that remove the taxes, because China has high taxes on such products like avocado, and they negotiated that. Kenya today has mobilized they are producers, that even somebody who has 1 acre is earning, and the market is assured. Because the challenge today is also the market is not assured. Take an example of maize. People are going to harvest maize, but you ask them, how much are you going to sell a kilo of maize? They say, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the market, maybe we will see. How do you run a business like that? Then too, they don't know who is going to buy their maize. You see? So we are still at that stage of hunting and gathering, you know? We haven't moved from that. They tell people, grow moringa. The people go on and grow moringa. They tell them, too bad. The Katare, no. You know, that's how we are. And then people are selfish. You hear people who are big producers. For them, they have their own markets. Their own. So the small 1 acre, 2 acres, they're on their own. So a country can't run. They can't run like that. Yet this is where we are supposed to get income to service. So when the president
talks about value addition and all these other initiatives that he props up when he speaks at national events, what is happening behind the scenes when it comes to value addition and improving the processes, especially from the post-farm harvesting and then all other handling to exportation?
You don't know what he what he really means, because you see now value addition is under PDM.
Okay.
But really, for me, I think we need to think bigger than PDM, because if you are, when you look at the pillars of PDM, there are 7. Value addition is one of them. And this is what I was saying, that we will have disorganized the production, value addition, trade. Now there is PDM on its own, there is value addition, there is also marketing, but Ministry of Trade is there. Then you wonder, PDM, people are being given 1 million. To produce, to add value. So what do you expect? You know? So
1 million is little.
1 million. For me, what I have also had, those people are not even getting that 1 million, because they have to pay some monies to be put on the list, and 1 million, by the time the 1 million comes, people have problems. Kids have to go to school. The wife maybe wants a gomesi, has never had a gomesi for 5 years, and that money is gone. You know, so we need to rethink. You know, sometimes when we talk about a national dialogue, people think about politics.
People quick to say that is politics.
No, but a national dialogue on how to handle our economy. How do we, because I have been reading about the gold, the minerals, it's there, but in the government coffers, how much is coming out? Because we have gold. Gold is there even in Mubende, a lot of it. But in the budget, have you ever seen now this stream, money coming in is coming from gold? So we need a national dialogue on how we can be able to organize our economy. You know, I'm a historian. When you look at Japan after the Second World War, it was completely battered. Remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
That's right.
What they did, they put money. They called that sector, the ministry called it MITI, Ministry of International Trade and Industry. That's where they put their money, almost 40%. The other percentage they put it in the people, you know, because investment in the people is important.
It's important.
In MITI and in the people. Japan is where they are because of that. So if you push away, you ignore where you have to earn, and you ignore that, we are going to continue going into debt.
Jane Nalunga, Executive Director at SEATINI, the Southern and Eastern Trade Information and Negotiations Institute. Many thanks for the perspectives on what should be the priorities in the budget for the financial year 2024-2025. It's been a pleasure having you on set.
Thank you so much, and thanks our viewers.
And that will do it for this particular TAKENOTE discussion here on Morning at NTV.